Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the what if.
Chapter 48 Purifying My Cursed Angel. Turning towards the interrogation specialist, the Hokage ordered. Ibiki, you know what to do. Make sure you extract everything you can from him. And don't shy away from killing him if you need to. A serious expression on her face as she shifted her cold eyes to an unconscious Kabuto. Now let's see if you guys have some connection to Itachi or Danzo. With Naruto. Around afternoon. The first thing that his hazy mind registered was the feeling of something soft and velvety on his lips as the blonde wriggled a bit, his head resting into something warm and comfortable. Wake up, Masuko. Just after hearing the first word he could tell it was his dear mother, and his lover. Naruto scrunched up his eyebrows, his lower lip protruding out in a playful pout as he turned his head away from the direction of the voice, his eyes still closed. Jush. Lemmy. Sleep. He was feeling so sleepy, the position in which he was laying was so comfortable that he never wanted to wake up again. His lips curved upwards just a little bit upon hearing her chuckle. A short silence followed as he started to drift off when again he felt himself being nudged lightly while two hands began to massage his scalp lovingly. Oh Kami. Just let me sleep please, he whined, turning on his side to bury his face into whatever his head was laying on. Well, he was sure it was too warm to be a pillow. Kushina couldn't help but smile affectionately at the blonde sleeping in front of her, his head lying on Ayumi's lap, who too was gazing at Naruto with care and affection in her eyes. Hey, he is still just a 12-year-old child after all, the Biju muttered softly, her fingers gently rubbing his scalp while the Jinchuriki had buried his face into her lap, snuggling into her warmth. Yeah, even if he has to, a part of me hopes that he never grows up, Kushina spoke quietly, sitting on the edge of the king-sized bed as moisture gathered in her violet orbs. Seeing her son sleeping so peacefully like a child, even after all the problems in the world he had to face, it brought her great joy. It reminded her that the damage Konoha did to him during his childhood was not permanent, that he was slowly healing even after facing all the difficulties that kept coming around along the way. The redhead was idly rubbing her son's shoulder tenderly, a lost look on her face. After having left Kabuto to Ibiki, she had resumed her duties, looking forward to her lunch with Naruto. Fortunately, the village being in the process of its reconstruction, she as the Hokage had a lot of work to do since taking the mantle of the Fire Shadow. Time had flown by quickly and she had found herself rushing back to the apartment to prepare lunch. Oddly and to her surprise, she had found Naruto sleeping on Ayumi's lap. Kushina knew how her boy was usually hyperactive and for him to sleep through the afternoon was rare. She had expected for him to meet up with his friends and just do about any stuff except sleeping. Well, Naruto did like to sleep, but he rarely slept during the day. It just showed how exhausted his body had gotten after facing against those Akatsuki nin. He's almost fully healed now, Ayumi murmured, making Kushina nod. I can see that. You healed him when he was asleep? The Uzumaki asked. Yep, but his own chakra played a big part in it too. This time, it didn't resist my chakra. In fact, his chakra worked with mine to heal every single damage. His healing rate has gotten to new levels, even for a Jinchuriki, Ayumi stated with a serious expression while the blonde continued to snore lightly whereas Kushina had a surprised look on her face. His chakra. It did react negatively to your chakra before, right? And now it worked with yours. Kinda like his chakra has adapted to your presence, on its own. She found it hard to believe while Ayumi nodded in agreement. Yeah, it's really something, isn't it? Mito's chakra. We know that even though not white, had similar properties like Naruto-kun's chakra here. Her chakra could heal, bring selective genetic evolution. But it always opposed my chakra. I've never heard of a chakra whose properties, nature changes with time, a chakra which adapts itself accordingly, the Biju articulated. Well, it could be following Naruto's will too. Remember the state he achieved temporarily during the invasions. When he was dead set on saving Gigi. Sochi's whole body was glowing so intensely, we all had to close our eyes, Kushina recalled. It does point towards the fact that Naruto-kun's chakra is following his own will, even if he himself is unaware of it, Ayumi uttered when the redhead stood up with a sigh. All we can do right now is speculate. Let's just forget this topic for now. I'm sure Naruto will figure everything out himself, she said with a bright smile before walking towards the exit of the bedroom. Well, lunch is about to be ready. Wake him up, will you? Kushina vocalized, glancing over her shoulder as she smiled at the sleeping figure before leaving the room. Okay. Ayumi pondered as a mischievous grin took birth on her face. I know the perfect way to wake him up. Her hand began to sensually travel over his body, slowly inching towards the waistline of his shinobi pants when Kushina's head appeared around the corner of the slightly open door. And keep your hands above his waist, you horny vixen. Damn. With Naruto. An hour later. Streets of Konoha. Damn it. She's just hiding things from Makoto-chan. I can't just do this. She has to know this. Itachi is her son, Naruto thought to himself with a frown, walking quietly through the bustling crowd. The blonde was lost in his thoughts, not noticing how most of the people were staring at him with respect and admiration, something he had longed for several years. Look, it's that boy. The one who saved the village. They say he's very close to our new Hokage too. Well, why won't they be close? They are the only two remaining survivors of the Uzumaki clan after all. Of course they will stick with each other. I do find it a bit odd that Naruto and Hokage-sama are living under the same roof. Well, that remains a mystery for the whole village. But I suspect that with Naruto's special condition, she just wants to ensure his safety. It's quite astonishing that Kushina-sama allowed him to sign the elemental dragon's summoning contract. On top of being an Uzumaki, he does have the legendary rinnegan, the possessor of whom is said to be the messiah of this world. Why won't she? Yet Naruto's mind was occupied somewhere else, the talk he had with Kushina a few minutes ago. Flashback. Sochi. There's something we need to discuss. Kushina spoke seriously after finishing her plate while Naruto was still eating quietly, an unusual lethargic aura surrounding him with his eyes half-lidded. His response was vague as the blonde continued to eat lazily, making Kushina sigh. It's about Makoto. This made him snap his head up, making her smirk inwardly. What about Makoto-chan? Naruto asked with a confused expression, his tone concerned while Kushina clutched her black kunoichi pants. We didn't tell her about what happened between you and Itachi a week ago, she uttered with her Hokage face as his eyes narrowed. I figured as much yesterday when Makoto-chan was enjoying the party. I was going to ask you myself. Why didn't you tell her yet? He asked in a solemn tone as she rubbed the back of her neck. She still has not been able to come over the fact that her whole clan was killed by her eldest son, that her youngest son was kidnapped by Orochimaru, and that she has no family left whatsoever. She needs time before we can let her know what Itachi did to you, Kushina stated calmly, her eyes closed while Naruto could feel himself getting angry. This situation seemed familiar. It struck a chord with him. She deserves to know it. Itachi's her eldest son. She's the first one who should have known about this. The blonde exclaimed, making the redhead stare at him in surprise before she narrowed her eyes. No, she doesn't. Makoto already has way too much on her mind. Knowing about this latest stunt will just break her. Don't you care about her feelings? Kushina spoke loudly when he abruptly stood up in anger. I do care about her feelings. And that's why we shouldn't lie to her. What do you think she would feel after getting to know that we've been hiding things from her? She already doesn't trust the village. You probably told her about the elders ordering Itachi to kill the clan, right? Naruto asked with a grim expression, making her shake her head. No. Right now we ourselves aren't sure if the elders were under Danzo's control when they ordered Itachi to kill the clan. It is possible that Danzo had them under Koto Amatsukami to pressure Gigi into giving the order. We just told that Danzo was the culprit, who strangely has gone missing since the invasions, she explained while he just kept staring at her. Still, we can't lie to her. We have to tell her. Right now she may be living under a false hope of being reunited with Itachi. I hate lies. I hate hiding such important truths from people that they so deserve to know. His voice got louder when Kushina stood up, herself getting angry. Voice down, Uzumaki Naruto. Her tone was final while the blonde averted his gaze, his fists clenched tightly. She deserves to know everything. She's not a kid who can't handle some heartbreaking news, she's an extremely strong kunoichi. I know the pain and betrayal of having those truths hidden from me for the most part of my life, he spat bitterly, still gazing at the ground while Kushina's eyes widened in surprise. Why can't you understand, Naruto? The circumstances are different here, the Hokage thought in sadness. She may not need to know the whole story, but she does deserve to know about Itachi, she's his mother. I'm going to tell her. Right now, Naruto stated firmly as he began to walk towards the exit door. Naruto, stop! Kushina exclaimed with narrowed eyes while the blonde just ignored her as he opened the door. As the Hokage, it's my order, Uzumaki Naruto. Refusal to follow it will result in your chakra being sealed to civilian levels for a month. She spoke with authority, making him stop dead in his tracks, the knob still in his hand. The Jinchuriki stood there for several seconds, his head lowered with the knob being clutched tightly in his right hand. You just won't understand. You might not realize right now, but you will one day. Those agonizing truths don't hurt as much as the lies that hide those truths, the lies spoken by your most precious people. His voice was deathly cold. Silence ensued for a few seconds as the blonde released the door knob. Wham! Before slamming the door shut, not noticing a few streams of tears gliding down Kushina's cheeks. Flashback end. She won't understand. How can she hide such important things from Makoto-chan? They are best friends. Ka-san can't be doing this. I'm sure Makoto-chan's trust in the village is already dwindling, and with this latest stunt, there is a chance that she will follow the same path as her ancestors, Naruto thought, his mind all foggy as he continued to walk amongst the crowd. His eyes became half-lidded, a poignant look taking birth in them as he walked a bit sluggishly. Why does this has to be so complicated? Everything seems so upside down in my life right now. A sigh escaped his lips as he accidentally bumped into someone, muttering sorry before continuing on his path, not having noticed as to how that passerby had respectfully apologized to him with a smile. I'm under the Clan Restoration Act for the Uzumaki clan and have to take up to a minimum of 10 wives. Can I even handle that much? I mean, will this completely destroy the element of love in my life? Just picking out wives and having kids without any feelings. Hey, what the fuck am I thinking? Am I even ready to be a father now? The Jinchuriki chuckled bitterly. And then there's the matter of Akatsuki being on my ass, not only due to Ayumi but also due to my rinnegan now. I am known as a prodigy throughout the village. I'm 12 years old and at about Junin level currently. Apparently that's still not enough. I got lucky with Deidara this time. I'm sure the rest of the Akatsuki members can just squash me easily. And what about their leader, the one having the rinnegan and being at the 3rd level currently? How am I supposed to face an S-rank criminal, who has the rinnegan on top of that? Things just were looking more and more hopeless. Naruto knew he was beginning to crumble under the tremendous pressure. He already had been pushing his body to its limits in his training ever since the activation of the rinnegan. What more was he supposed to do? He knew he should not be feeling down, rather encouraging himself to keep going. But there's only so much I can go forward with determination. Damn it. Just. Why couldn't my life be simple for once? I have people who love me, but there's just not enough time I can spend with them considering the whirlwind my life has become lately. I was so happy when I got the rinnegan a month ago. But now, it seems nothing but a burden to me. He didn't why he was feeling so down. Maybe it was the discussion with Kushina he just had, maybe things just weren't looking up for him, or maybe he was just tired of being under so much pressure. He had given his all during the invasions to save everyone. He had given his all against the recent skirmish with Akatsuki and Orochimaru. And every time he had to endure so much pain and stress, both physical and mental, it was breaking him from the inside. Ah damn it, why am I being so negative? I have to keep going. No matter what. If not for my sake, but for the ones who care about me and want me to live. Another sigh escaped Naruto's lips as he sifted his right hand through his blonde locks. Then there's the mystery surrounding Itachi ni. Just why? Even though what he said made sense to a certain degree, still, my heart refuses to believe it. And if Itachi ni was lying back there, why would he? What could be the reason so grave that he had to lie to all of us, and stab me with a kunai coated with deadly poison? It makes me think if he even cared about me at all. He just sounded so cold, so distant at that time. He really was trying to kill me back then. Why? What are you trying to achieve? Shaking his head to get rid of the stressful thoughts, Naruto's eyes widened in surprise when he found himself now standing in front of Makoto's apartment, not knowing how he get there in the first place. Makoto's apartment was in the same district as his own, which was one of the lavish parts of the village, also sporting Tsunade and Shizune's apartment. It baffled him as to how he was just walking in circles around his own district to stop in front of the Uchiha's house, who understandably had chosen not to live in her clan's district. Guess I should just go and see her, the whiskered blonde thought with a sigh as he climbed up the stairs at a hesitant pace, currently wearing a combination of a light gray sweatshirt with black cargo pants. Now standing in front of the door, Naruto had an uncertain look on his face, his index finger touching the bell's button beside the door. Should I really meet her right now? I don't think I can talk to her knowing that I'm hiding such heavy truths from her. Makoto-chan trusts me so much, it feels as if I'm betraying her. I already promised her that I'm going to give her a meeting with Sasuke, and now lying about Itachi-ni like that. The blonde sighed as he began to retract his hand back. Maybe so. When are you planning on ringing the bell, handsome? The blonde snapped his head to notice Makoto standing beside him, an amused smile on her beautiful face while she was holding several plastic bags. MMI Makoto-chan. Naruto couldn't believe he stuttered twice, but he guessed he was that much startled, having been completely lost in his own world, for her to sneak up on him so easily. Her smile dropped a bit upon noticing his reaction. Let's get in, Naruto-kun, she spoke softly while the blonde averted his gaze, already knowing that she had picked up on his troubled state. The raven-haired Uchiha was wearing a simple, plain sky blue skirt with a tight, full-sleeved dark blue t-shirt accentuating her curves. Noticing her fiddling with her keys along with holding the bags, he gently took the bags from her, offering her a small smile as she smiled back appreciatively. So, how was your day? She asked as the duo entered the apartment, getting rid of their footwear by the mat. Nothing much, just slept through it. You? Naruto asked in a low tone as he walked into the living room as he set the bags on the couch. No missions for me today, so I just sorted out the things in the apartment and filled up the food supplies, Makoto spoke as she strolled to the kitchen while the blonde plopped on the couch with a jerk, a sigh escaping his lips as he sat in silence. Naruto gazed at the carpet absent-mindedly, his elbows propped on his thighs as he found himself again delving into his thoughts. Should I tell her? But I can't. Ka-san seemed so desperate in stopping me from spilling out the truth. I don't care about the orders, but what should I do? He was pulled out of his trance upon feeling his shoulder being nudged lightly. Naruto-kun. The Jinchuriki turned his head to notice Makoto sitting by his side, a concerned look on her face as she offered him a glass of water. Smiling weakly, he took the glass before drinking it down in one gulp, exhaling deeply as he wiped his chin with the sleeve of his sweatshirt. So, what's troubling you? She asked softly, a comforting hand on the blonde's shoulder while he just shook his head. Nothing. Everything's fine. What about you? How are you feeling? Naruto asked, turning to stare into her somewhat surprised black orbs. Makoto's lips slowly curled upwards as she burst into a small cute giggle, nudging him in the ribs with her right elbow in a playful way. So, you came to check on me, huh? My. Makoto trailed as she tilted her head to rest it on his shoulder, her arm encircling around his waist. Little Naru-chan has grown so much. She sighed with a small smile while Naruto lifted his left arm to wrap around her opposite shoulder, pulling her in. Makoto exhaled contentedly as she closed her eyes, reveling in the blonde's warmth, a comforting silence ensuing between the two. Dim sun rays coming through the window was lighting the living room as both of them sat in relative silence, only the clicking sounds of the clock reaching their ears. I wish I had never grown up, Naruto spoke as he leaned back, pulling Makoto back with him. Finding his tone to be strange, she turned her head to stare at him. What's wrong, Naruto-kun? She asked gently, but in a firm tone as he tightened his hold on her shoulder. I don't know, I guess I'm just feeling down and all. It will go away, I guess, he muttered, having cut his mental connection with Ayumi a while ago back in the streets. Slowly lifting her head, Makoto's warm hand found its way on his cheek as she looked at him in worry. Naruto-kun, you are feeling a lot of pressure, aren't you? She questioned as his eyes opened in surprise, the blonde now looking at her as she smiled knowingly. You can tell me anything, honey, she uttered, a warm and affectionate look in her eyes, making the Jinchuriki melt under them as he leaned forward to hug her tightly, taking her by surprise somewhat. Makoto hugged him back as she rubbed his back soothingly while he just stayed quiet. Should I tell her? He pondered before opening his mouth. Makoto-chan Ida. Naruto again closed his eyes as he tried to tell her the truth. Naruto-kun, what is it? The Uchiha matriarch asked softly as he leaned back to stare into her concerned orbs. The blonde felt his cheeks being heated at their proximity as he averted his gaze, quickly aware of the fact that just how beautiful and an attractive woman Makoto really was. It's just that with the Akatsuki being on my back and me having to push my body during the training past its limits is taking a toll on me. And after facing a member of Akatsuki Deidara yesterday and getting out of it by a lucky draw, I now know the difference between our strengths. Naruto lowered his head into his palms as he sighed lightly. I guess I just need to kick back a little, he murmured before feeling his chin being lifted gently. Makoto offered him an understanding smile, her eyes shimmering with affection and care as she leaned forward to wrap her arms around his torso, her head resting against his chest. Don't worry Naruto-kun, you are a strong person. I've watched as you kept ignoring the villagers and continue to march forward. I know you'll do it. This is just a down phase you're going through. Everybody has ups and downs in their lives, so you'll just need to take it easy for a while. You've always been so excited about training and all, and the fact that you're dreading the upcoming training you have to undergo is a serious issue, she spoke, her melodic voice soothing his nerves as he just held her. Here's what we'll do. We have to train you, but we will do it in a fun way. I'll talk to Kushina, I'm sure we can sort something out. We'll have you train the way you enjoy the most. I think I know what the problem is here. But just kick back and relax, you have earned it. Also, there's also the match you promised me, remember? She playfully pinched his chest, inwardly admiring as to how well built the blonde was. Naruto smiled at her warmly as a chuckle escaped his lips. Yeah, I remember that. I'm excited about that too, he replied as she leaned back, smiling at him. Thanks for lifting me up Makoto-chan, I needed that, the Jinchuriki said gratefully, an embarrassed smile on his face as he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Hey, anything for my Naru-chan, she spoke with a grin, ruffling his hair playfully as he pouted at her, making her giggle. A mischievous glint suddenly entered his oceanic blue orbs as he grinned devilishly at her before diving towards her. Makoto squealed as she was pushed to her back on the couch while the blonde began to tickle her mercilessly at her sides. The Uchiha matriarch, being extremely ticklish, a secret very few knew, along with Naruto, burst out giggling, her breath coming out in short pants. Nah, Naru. Ahahahaha. Naru. Naruto. Stop. It. Ahahahahahaha. Her melodious laughter began to echo throughout her apartment as the Jinchuriki sunk his fingers into her sides, tickling her while she flailed her legs uncontrollably, unable to control her reflex action. Naruto. Ahahahaha. She screamed out in laughter after a few seconds when he stopped, his head buried into the couch beside her shoulder as she panted to catch her breath, occasional giggles escaping her lips with the whiskered blonde chuckling with her. Oh. Ahehe. Why you'll never change. You and why your pranks, she spoke with a giggle, her eyes closed as she panted lightly with Naruto above her, his knees placed on the couch on both sides of her with his face buried into her shoulder. Both of them stayed in that position, the blonde finding the sounds of her breathing soothing. Thank you Makoto-chan. I don't know what I'd do without you, he muttered, his mouth close to her left ear as her lips curled upwards in a serene smile. No problem Naruto-kun. Anything for you, she spoke softly, her eyes closed as she gently wrapped her arms around his neck, surprising him. Makoto-chan. The blonde questioned as he tried to lean back, his eyes a bit wide when she pulled him back in. Just stay here with me Naruto-kun, please. Her voice was soft, but pleading. It actually shocked Naruto. She sounded so frail. Having a scarlet blush on his face, the Jinchuriki nevertheless relaxed himself, his body now partially lying on top of her soft frame. Makoto had him clutched to herself gently, but firmly, her eyes closed with her arms wrapped around his neck, seeking comfort in the blonde on top of her. Both of them stayed quiet, providing each other the much-needed physical comfort, no more words being exchanged between the two. Konoha. Hokage's office. An hour later. Knock knock. Enter. Kushina ordered, currently going over some documents as the door opened for two familiar figures to walk in. Hokage same, The redhead lifted her head as she leaned back into her chair. Ah, Kakashi, Sakura, she spoke seriously, briefly eyeing the bruised pink-haired Kunoichi standing in front of her. So, how's her training going? The Godime asked, now resting her eyes on the copy ninja while Sakura stood there, a nervous look on her face. I must say she's one quick learner when she puts her mind to it. With what you have in mind for Naruto-kun's training Hokage-sama, I'm sure you'll notice the results, he spoke, glancing at Sakura with a smile as her cheeks lighted in an embarrassed blush while at the same time, she wondered about what they were discussing regarding her blonde teammate's training. I see. Kushina trailed when Sakura interjected. What do you mean by Naruto's training? Is he alright now Hokage-sama? She asked, concern visible in her green orbs making Kushina smile at her. Even though the redhead was irked by Sakura treating her son roughly during his days at the academy as well as when Team 7 was formed, she understood that the pink-haired genin was just a child then, an immature child whose world revolved around impressing a certain raven-haired genin. Now looking at Sakura, Kushina saw a matured Kunoichi, one who had great potential, pretty impressive talent if she was able to extract those words from Kakashi. Yes, he's all right now. They had a run-in with Orochimaru along with 2 Akatsuki members. Hinata and Tayuya are still recovering while, as you know, when it comes to Naruto, injuries never last too long. He's fully healed now, she informed while Sakura had an even more worried look on her face. He actually fought those S-rank monsters. I did see Orochimaru in action once. Her voice trailed as she remembered that day a month ago, when Naruto had fought Orochimaru for them in the Forest of Death. An Akatsuki is said to be even more dangerous than that guy. Kushina's eyes softened as Sakura's gaze lowered to the floor. She understood the Kunoichi's concern regarding her teammate. Not everyone's teammate was a Jinchuriki. Not every day one's teammate had to face situations like these. Don't worry Sakura. Naruto is a strong person, and that's the reason we are planning on training him extra harder. We can't do it without your help, he can't do it without his friend's help, the redhead uttered with a smile making the teen Kunoichi look at her in confusion. What do yo? Poof. You called. Being startled by a rather cold voice, a bright smile took birth on Sakura's face as she stared at her blonde teammate. Naruto. The blonde turned his head to notice his teammate and sensei, his lips curling upwards. Sakura-chan. Kakashi-sensei. He muttered with a diminutive smile, the cold look in his eyes instantly evaporating. Yo. The silver-haired Junin greeted with his eye curved upwards in an "you," indicating his smile. How are you? I heard you were badly injured when you brought Tsunade-sama back, Sakura asked with a smile making him scratch the back of his head. Well, you know Sakura-chan, when it comes to me, injuries never last too long, he verbalized with a sheepish grin as both Kakashi and Sakura's eyebrows lifted in surprise, the duo now glancing between their Hokage and the blonde. Huh? What's wrong? Naruto asked with a confused expression while Kushina was trying to fight down the embarrassed blush on her face. She said those exact words when we asked her about you. When it comes to him, injuries never last too long. Kakashi pointed towards Kushina with his index finger, darkening the shade of her blush while Naruto glanced at her discreetly. Anyway, the blonde started, ignoring the awkward coincidence as he turned towards Kushina, his demeanor taking a 180 turn. Why did you call me here Hokage-sama? A cold edge to his voice making Kakashi wonder as to what had happened between the two. Kushina however sighed inwardly as she composed herself. Yes, well, first of all, seeing your performance in the Chunin exams along with the essential part you played during the invasions Uzumaki Naruto, I, as the Godime Hokage of Konohagakure, hereby promote you to the rank of Chunin, Kushina declared, a certain hint of pride in her voice while Kakashi couldn't help but smile proudly, already having predicted this. Sakura too couldn't wipe the bright smile on her face as she turned to her teammate, who had a somewhat surprised look on his face. Hey, congratulations you dummy. The pink-haired Kunoichi cheered as the Jinchuriki composed himself, a small smile curving his lips as he glanced at Sakura. Thanks Sakura-chan. Now I don't like breaking this to you, but with Naruto here being promoted to Chunin and the other member of Team 7 missing, the original Team 7 is being officially disbanded from here on out, the Godime Hokage broke through making Sakura and Naruto's eyes widen in shock. Why? Surprisingly, It was both Naruto and Sakura who exclaimed simultaneously. Kushina closed her eyes as she intertwined her fingers in front of her lips, a grave expression on her face. I already explained the reason. With Uchiha Sasuke missing, Team 7 is already incomplete as it is. And with Naruto becoming a Chunin, and taking in account his special conditions, it's better if I put him somewhere else, a squad more suited for him, Kushina articulated, making Naruto narrow his eyes. I can work pretty well with Sakura-chan, we have done plenty of missions together. I don't see why you can't just fill in a new temporary member for the time being, he argued, making Sakura nod, who looked to be a bit panicked. Naruto's right, Hokage-sama, you can just fill in a new temporary member. And with him being a Chunin, he can be the squad leader on our missions with our squad containing 3 members, the Team Kunoichi spoke, making the Hokage shake her head. No, you're not understanding the situation here, Sakura. With the Akatsuki becoming more active now regarding Naruto here, I have to place him in a squad much stronger than the current one. I understand your sentiments regarding your original team, but this can't be helped. Besides, I'm planning on putting Tsuchi-kin and Tayuya with you on Team 7. I have other things planned for Naruto here, she spoke in a definite tone while Kakashi stayed quiet, already suspecting that this was coming. But, it's alright, Sakura-chan, it's not like we won't meet each other ever again, Naruto intervened with a small reassuring smile, making her nod, a sad look on her face. Kushina smiled at her son's maturity when the copy ninja spoke. I agree with Hokage-sama, Sakura. You know about his condition, he does need a stronger squad with him. Besides, you being teamed up with Kin and Tayuya will make up a good squad. I know you and Kin have some history, but as a Kunoichi, you have to get over that. You are mostly a taijutsu specialist with excellent chakra control, while Tayuya has a great deal of talent in genjutsu according to what Hokage-sama says. Kin has shown great potential in ninjutsu along with her sound-related techniques, so I'm sure you 3 will form a great team, he explained, making her nod, a gloomy look on her face as she clenched her fists while Naruto sighed heavily. Great. Now I'm no longer a part of Team 7. What else? Alright, now moving on to other things. Naruto, you are to report at Training Ground 3 tomorrow morning at 8, don't be late. Can I ask you why, Hokage-sama? The blonde questioned with a raised eyebrow, a certain hint of mocking in his tone, while Sakura too could feel the tension between the two now. Is something going on between these two? Kushina sighed in frustration as she spoke in a neutral tone. You'll know when you go there. You're dismissed now. You stay here, Kakashi and Sakura, Kushina stated when the blonde turned to his former team now. See y'all later, Sakura-chan, sensei. Poof. Hokage Monument. With Naruto. Half an hour later. Man, this place sure is a stress buster. Every time I come here, the blonde thought as he closed his eyes, enjoying the light cool breeze ruffling his body. He was currently sitting on the Yondaime's head, leaned back with his hands supporting his body as he sat there casually. Naruto-kun. Are you feeling alright now? Ayumi spoke in concern, the connection now established between the two as the blonde nodded. Yeah, I'm feeling better now. Thanks for understanding earlier, Ayumi-chan, he replied telepathically with a smile. No problem. Just keep that smile on your face. I don't want you feeling down and being all sad. It's just not you, she spoke playfully, making him chuckle lightly. Yo, Whisker-kun. What's up? The Jinchuriki's eyes widened in shock upon hearing a familiar voice telepathically, although through a different link. His right hand automatically lifted to touch the Uzushio seal on his side neck. Feeling a presence behind him, the blonde whizzed his head to find the grinning figure of a familiar purple-haired Kunoichi. Dango-chan. His muttered under his breath, his lips slowly curling upwards into a bright grin as he stood up a bit unsteadily. So, how's it going, Whisker-kun? Anko again spoke telepathically in a teasing tone as she wiggled her eyebrows, making him shake his head at her antics, laughing lightly at her. Damn you, he spoke before walking towards her in a rushed pace, quickly engulfing her form in a tight hug. Whoa. Anko exhaled, taken aback as he hugged her affectionately. Damn, I missed you so much, the blonde articulated with a sigh, making her smile. Of course you missed me, I'm just that awesome, Anko grinned when he leaned back to gaze into her eyes. Anko found herself again surprised as she stared into his mesmerizing oceanic blue orbs. They were so full of happiness. She couldn't help but subconsciously ask herself he was that happy to see her. Her eyes widened a bit when he leaned forward to capture her lips in a chaste kiss, the blonde pouring his love for her into it as she too gradually closed her eyes, feeling herself melt under his arms. I really missed you. Naruto spoke in between his kisses, nibbling on her lower lip as he pulled her in through her waist. What's gotten into him? Hey. Not that I'm complaining. Anko inwardly thought with a smirk as she deepened the kiss, pushing her soft lips into his, applying more pressure as their lips moved against each heatedly now. Her hands were sifting through his spiky locks as she moaned lightly into the kiss. Me. Too, she moaned lightly, licking his lips fervently as the blonde snaked his tongue out, engaging in a tongue battle with her. Naruto's hands slowly went down her back, massaging her curvaceous globes of flesh hungrily as she broke the kiss with a moan, panting lightly while her eyes were closed, their noses touching each other. My apartment. She exhaled heavily, their lips barely touching each other with their foreheads touching each other as she grinded her lower region lightly with his in desire. I can't wait, Anko. Naruto spoke in need, his eyes half-lidded in desire and lust as he gazed at her. The previous month had been so busy for him, he hadn't gotten enough time to spend with her. And now with this break after having brought Tsunade back, he wanted to make the most of it. He wanted to spend as much time with his loved ones as he could. Anko's apartment. Several minutes later, lemon warning. Anko. Naruto groaned in need, placing butterfly kisses down her exposed neck as he hovered above her, the purple-haired kunoichi sprawled on her bed. Anko, however, could do nothing but moan, immensely enjoying his ministrations as she squirmed beneath him. Her trench coat was already discarded off, leaving her in her fishnet as the blonde gently cupped her left tit, his knee rubbing against her lower region gently. Both had taken special precaution of drawing the curtains, locking the doors as well establishing a visibility barrier around her bedroom meant for a certain peeping pervert. Rutu. She moaned while panting lightly, her hands clutching the bed sheets tightly as he nibbled on the nape of her neck, giving her a hickey. Although she may act like an open pervert in front of Naruto outside, however, inside, she was the same woman wanting attention from the man of her dreams. This was the moment she had dreamed of for so long, she had waited long enough. My. You are so sensitive, Naruto murmured with a chuckle, making her chuckle back as she panted to catch her breath. Why, you're underestimating me, Whisker-chan, she mocked when the blonde found himself pinned to the bed in a flash, their positions reversed. His eyes were widened as now Anko sat on his waist, a predatory grin on her face as she grinded her pelvis against her hardened member, which was straining his cargo pants. She licked her lips, trailing her hands over his well-built torso, admiring his muscular cuts. Naruto, however, was not so surprised to see her taking charge, he had suspected her to be the dominant type after all. Grabbing the hem of her fishnet, she slowly pulled it upwards, giving him a tantalizing view of her D-cups as they jiggled with her bounds. Damn it! She's just so like the view. Anko asked with a smirk, deliberately cupping her tits in front of him, the fishnet already on the floor now. Come here, you. Naruto growled with narrowed eyes as he pulled her after grabbing her wrists. Ah! She moaned as he began to roughly grope her breasts, sucking on her left nipple hungrily when she put her hand on his cheek softly. Naruto-kun, she called softly, making him lean back to look at her, his hands still groping her fleshy globes. The blonde, however, stopped at seeing the look on her face. There was no playful grin stretching her lips, no mischievous glint in her eyes, no taunting smirk. She had a delicate look on her face, the look of a woman offering her virginity to the one she loved the most in her world, like she was giving him something very precious to her. Right then, for the first time since knowing her, Naruto saw a whole new Anko, he saw a whole new woman. Please, be gentle. Those words spoke volumes to him, the moisture in her half-lidded eyes, he had never seen this side of her. He didn't how she transitioned from a sexy and teasing woman to an affectionate and gentle lover so quickly, but seeing this side of her for the first time, he couldn't complain. He wanted to store this picture in his mind forever, that beautiful look on her face, her lovely eyes. He never wanted to forget this moment. Gently leaving her breast, he lifted his head to cup her cheek tenderly as she leaned into his touch. I'm sorry, Anko. I know how much this means to you. I love you. Naruto spoke with a warm smile, his rinnegan activated as he burnt the look on her face in his mind. A few tears escaped the confines of Anko's eyelids as she put her hand on his cheek, clenching her eyes shut when a choked sob escaped her lips. After being betrayed by Orochimaru, after having been ridiculed by the villagers for so long, she'd never thought that anyone would ever love her romantically. For Naruto, someone whom she loved with all her heart, to return her feelings, those were tears of happiness. Hey, shish, stop crying, baby. I promise that I'll never leave you. I will always love you, that's a promise. You know Uzumaki Naruto doesn't break his promises, right? He whispered soothingly in her ear, slowly making her lay back on the bed as he planted an affectionate kiss on her nose. Anko's eyes were still clenched shut, more tears cascading down her cheeks as another sob escaped her lips. Hush. No one's going to leave you alone ever again. I'll protect you from the pain of loneliness. We both know how agonizing it is, Naruto whispered in a melancholic tone while she covered her eyes with her palms, her sobs getting louder at that. Nha. Naruto. She sobbed, her body shaking up due to her uncontrollable sobs as she broke down right there. Naruto smiled at her sadly, gently rubbing her shoulders. He knew those were tears of happiness, sobs of joy. She was so elated that she had broken down, she couldn't contain the rush of those positive emotions. Let's stop crying. We've cried long enough. Let's turn those cries into joyous squeals, shall we? Into pleasurable moans. He chuckled beside her ear, his hand now slowly moving to cup her breasts gently, the Jinchuriki inwardly cursing himself for trying to be rough with her earlier. Anko's sobs began to subside lightly as he pressed her breasts, kneading them into circular motion tenderly with his fingers occasionally pinching them, making her moan lightly. It was strange, her sobs being combined with her light moans. But she wasn't stopping him, she wanted to go on, to leave her previous pain behind her. Let's show that bastard, the whole world, that we can heal any wound with love, he again whispered, his other hand going lower, past the waistline of her panties to gently rub her bare glistening vaginal lips. Naruto. She sniffed, this side of her so foreign to Naruto as he kept staring at her the whole time, his fingers doing their magic. Her palms were still covering her eyes. Leaning down, the blonde flicked his tongue over her right erect nipple, making her go stiff. He smirked at her before engulfing the rosy bud with his mouth, sucking on it gently as her back arched in pleasure. So her nipples are sensitive, huh? His hands still kneading her other breast along with rubbing her pussy lips, he lightly bit on her nipple, making her moan loudly in between her light hiccups, making the Jinchuriki chuckle lightly. Here, show me your face, he murmured, gently taking her hands off her face when his fingers went inside her vagina, sloshing around in her wet insides. Ah, nah, Naru. Naruto smiled at her warmly as he gazed at her face, her eyebrows contorted in pleasure while her cheeks were stained with tears. I can't wait. She panted out, her hands gently holding his forearms as her pulled her panties down, sliding them all the way through her legs, over her feet. As you wish. Anko Heim, he whispered, now leaning up to plant a kiss on her forehead as she sniffed lightly. Naruto. She spoke, now opening her bleary eyes to gaze at him with nothing with warm affection and abundant love. Take me, become one with me, please, purify me, she uttered lightly, her voice so soft and melodic. The blonde smiled at her warmly as he cupped her cheeks, his hardened junior lined up against her pelvis. I never knew you had a side like this, it makes you that much more beautiful, he thought, his own eyes half lidded. You ready? He asked almost inaudibly as she nodded immediately. Have been for a long time. There was a sense of urgency in her voice, she really couldn't wait. Naruto kept staring into her eyes as he pushed himself in, his eyes getting closed as his manhood slowly entered her warm and slippery insides. Anko. Ah, Naru. Anko moaned lightly as her grip tightened on his forearms, her hymen already broken due to her being a kunoichi. He continued to push gently before entering her, completely filling her up as the blonde controlled himself due to Anko's sake, her tight insides giving him unbelievable amounts of pleasure. Move. Come on. Move now, she whispered, herself moving her hips. Not needing further encouragement, Naruto pulled out his meat stick before again pushing it in. The blonde began to build up a steady pace, making sure she was getting comfortable. Ha. Yes. Come on, faster and Naru. Anko moaned in pleasure, her hands tightly clenching the bed sheets, her purple hair sprawled open on the bed as he increased his pace. Nah. Ruto. She muttered, lifting her hands to cup his cheeks as he continued to push into her. Love me. Purify me. Make me forget all the pain. Make me yours. Never let me go. She exclaimed loudly, streams of pearly liquid flowing down her soft and smooth cheeks. Anko. I love you. Naruto exclaimed, his eyes closed in pleasure as he began to slam into her, wet and erotic sounds of flesh slapping against each other filling the room. Say it again. She panted out, all the while moaning as he filled her insides repeatedly. I love you. He exclaimed, now grabbing her waist to get control over his thrusts, both of their bodies now covered in a sheen layer of sweat. Again. I love you. Love you. I love you, Anko. He exclaimed again and again, making her lips curl upwards as her toes twisted in pleasure. I love you too. Ha harder. Faster Naruto. She moaned loudly, now panting heavily as he went at full pace, skyrocketing her pleasure meter. Naruto leaned down to claim her lips, kissing her passionately as Anko wrapped her arms around his neck while he continued to thrust into her. Thank you. Thank you so much, she whispered through her panting and moaning into his ear, her eyes shut tightly as the inevitable tears of happiness fell down her chin. Both of their bodies rocked with each other in rhythm as they neared their ends. Anko. Naruto. I'm coming. Lemon ends. Next morning. Around 8. Training Ground 3. Walking leisurely through the opened gate, Naruto entered the third training ground where Team 7 was officially formed. He looked around himself, currently wearing his usual battle attire minus the trench coat as the blonde enjoyed the greenery around him. It's been a while since I came here, he thought, now walking through a paved path towards the main clearing. A blush suddenly tinted his cheeks when he remembered as to what had happened last night upon him returning to his apartment. Ka-san sure doesn't give up, he pondered with a sigh, the blush still not leaving his face. Hee. Still can't believe that Kushina can be a pervert, huh? Ayumi commented from inside as he just ignored her, continuing to walk towards the clearing when he picked up some strange sounds. And familiar voices. What are they doing here? Naruto's pace quickened as he jumped on a branch using Chakra, speeding towards the clearing. Thup. Reaching the edge, landing on a branch high above the ground, the blonde had his eyes widened in surprise as he stared at the scene below him. Yash Gai Sensei. We will make Naruto-kun's youthful fires burn brighter. Atta boy Lee. Your youthfulness prevails on this youthful morning. Again Tenten. You need to try harder. Damn it and Neji. Gimme a break. Hey, get your fucking mud away from me. He has a name, you bitch, it's Akamaru. Oh, calm down to Yuya-chan, Kiba-kun. Geez to Yuya-chan, so typical of you to get irritated just by a dog. Shut up, Kin-chan. Hey, I told you it's not just a dog, his name is Akamaru. Shut the fuck up, you son of a bitch. Why, you little Kiba, I don't see why you are offended by that statement from Yuya-san. Why? It's because according to the native language of your clan, you are basically a son of a bitch. Shut up, Shino, some teammate you are, damn it. Hey, I like you, bug boy, you're at least better than the bitch boy. Buzz. Wah. Get those fucking insects away from me. To Yuya-chan. You are just hopeless. Ah, Shino-kun, please calm down. She didn't mean to call you bug boy. They were all there. All of them were standing there. Naruto stood frozen. He couldn't believe it. He had instantly pieced it together. He couldn't believe how far Kushina was going for him. Lee and Guy were acting like usual, warming up with their crazy antics. Kiba, Shino, Tenten, Neji, Ino, Shikamaru, Choji, Sakura, Kin, they were all there, even Hinata and Tayuya had shown up. The whole of Rookie 11. All his friends. Even their Junin sensei Kakashi, Kurenai and Asuma were there. Most of them were standing idly as if they were waiting for someone. Naruto knew exactly who they were waiting for. Whoa, so this is what she was talking about. Nice idea, Kushina, Ayumi thought with a small smile as she stared at the scene through Naruto. The Jinchuriki, however, went stiff when he felt a familiar pair of arms wrap around his stomach gently from behind. Keep your friends close. Naruto Koi, Kushina's shadow clone whispered in his ear as she kissed his cheek before taking her leave. Poof.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.